Good morning, Freedom Friends. This is Bee with Life Done Free. You know, you guys have been asking and asking and asking for me to make a lip grease video. Well, your wish is my command. Come check it out. Good morning, Freedom Friends. I am going to make some lip balm today, and I'm gathering all of my supplies and getting things ready before I start. So I ordered lip grease containers just off of Amazon. They come just in a baggie. The lids are separate, so you don't have to uncap them in order to use them. They are I'm not too happy with these particular ones because, as you can see how big the stick is, but the plunger is all the way up to about right there. So you're only going to fill this section here with your actual lip balm. So I'm going to have to use more of these than I typically would because, well, my recipe calls for 14 sticks, but they don't go all the way to the bottom, so I'm going to need more. I used to use just an empty egg crate. I poked holes in the bottom of them, and I used to just stick these through the bottoms like this to hold them. And then when I poured my grease into the tube, if I spilled any, it would just go around here and not just on the countertop. Plus, when you knock one of these over, the oil is liquid, so when you fill it and set it down, if you tip it over, this stuff spills out. So I would just take one of these, poke them through, and then set this container on the counter with the tubes inside. I since then, because this only holds 12, I since then had purchased one of these things, and not all tubes fit into this tray. So here I have, this is what the tray looks like. I've already poked several of the tubes into the holder. It comes with a little scraper so that when you pour the liquid on here, you can then scrape off what is on the tray and then try to fill back into your tubes, or you scrape it off and put it back into your measuring cup to melt. But these, not all of these fit into this particular holder. So I had to really push hard to get these to stay into this tray, and my fingers are arthritic, so I tried to use my grater to poke them into place just so that they would stay. I here have my beeswax, which is homemade or home rendered. This is half a pound right here, I believe. Let me double check. It's about 7.8, so just under half. So I take this and you can grate it, which is what I use this for. That's why it's kind of gunky, because it has the beeswax on it. So you can take it and grate it, but it doesn't have to be grated. You could just take a knife and cut it up. The smaller these pieces, the easier, the faster these are going to melt. So I take my beeswax, I take my oils, which today you could use pretty much any oil. Today I am going to be using coconut and toasted sesame. I actually prefer sunflower or jojoba. My jojoba, I went out to the processing kitchen and it is solid, so I'm not going to use that today. I'm going to use sesame. You can also use grapeseed or olive oil, pretty much any oil that you want. Each oil has a different property. So like carrot seed oil has an SPF in it if you're going to be in the sun. The sesame actually is really good for your skin, and it has a lot of good properties for skin and lips. I also use vitamin E, which I have here. This is just for your skin. Anything you put on your skin, it's gonna eat. So I use all, preferably all unrefined and organic as possible. The lanolin that I typically used was refined, but I don't have any today, so I'm not gonna be using that. I have a recipe that I use most of the time, which has beeswax, coconut oil, sunflower oil, a essential oil of some kind. You can pretty much use whatever you want. If it's summertime, you want to stay away from the sun-sensitive oils. The citruses could burn you if you're in the sun. So I stay away from that. And then vitamin E. So it's a pretty simple recipe. I take all of the ingredients. I then put it into a double broiler pan. I set this into my hot water. It will melt, and then I take this and put it into my tubes. So super easy. Stay tuned. I'll get everything ready, and then I will show you what it looks like. Oh, I also just use a simple kitchen scale so that I can measure everything out, so that I know how much of what I'm putting inside of my tubes. So stay tuned, and I will get everything else set up and get back with you. Thanks. I actually just took a knife and cut it into pieces here. So I just used my kitchen knife, chopped it into pieces. I have 32 grams of beeswax here, and this is hard to get off of the knife once it's on there, so I just take another knife and scrape it off. And then I will wash it in hot water and resharpen it. So there's my beeswax. I'm going to put it into a mason jar to melt. Okay, so I'm going to get this to melt first. And I am just putting this glass jar into the pan of warm water. That's not hot, it's just warm. I actually probably should have put a little more in there so it's covering the jar a little bit better. I will do that, and then I will wait until it melts before I stick my other oils in. I'll be back. I am getting this all up to, it's not boiling, I'm just at a low temperature melting the beeswax and the coconut oil and the sesame oil, and it is smelling delightful. So let me grab my stir real quick, and I'll show you what that is. I just use a chopstick, one chopstick from, that you bring home with your takeout. So you can see that the oil that's getting onto the side of the jar is already solidifying. So I need to keep that down, which is why this is on the rim here. So we're almost there. Almost all the way melted. Give that a few more minutes. And then I will pour it into my lip balm tubes. Now, if you wanted to make a salve, like for wounds or cracked skin, you know, knuckles or elbows or heels or something like that, you could use the same kind of recipe. Basically a carrier type oil like coconut or sesame or grapeseed or jojoba or walnut. I like walnut too. Using an oil like that, adding your beeswax, you would add just a little extra beeswax to make it a little more thick, like a little, like a stick, I guess. And then you can actually use the same kind of tubes, and then you would just then you could just take it and put it on, you know, whatever. I use it a lot in the wintertime on my knuckles because the skin here gets so dry from washing and being outdoors. And so I use these, and then I'm putting it on my hands like that. And then using whatever oil you have available, whatever oil you have on hand. Olive oil is a really good something that usually people have on hand. I would not use a baby oil or any kind of petroleum product like that. You want it to be food grade because you're putting it on your body, and anything, like I said, anything you put on your body, anything you put on your skin, it is going to eat. So I am going to, this recipe that I have made is for 12 to 14 sticks. These, like I said, these are only halfway, a little bit over halfway. These are screwed all the way down, so they're not going to come down any farther. That's why I have more on here, because I think that I'm going to have an extra. I think I'll have extra, so I don't want it to go to waste, and I want to be able to pour it while it's still warm. Another thing too, you're going to get like salve or chapstick into this, the crevice between the tube and the form. So you're going to want to use after you pop these out, you're going to want to use the tool that comes with it to scrape off, and you're going to have to remelt it to put it back inside there. This is kind of handy because this just has a little circle there, and then it just clicks into one of these holes, and then it's just easily stored like that. I actually keep everything in the box just because I want it to stay, you know, protected. I want to use it for years and years to come. So now I have not added my essential oils to this yet, because the essential oil you want to add at the very last minute because you do not want to heat it. All right, I think we've got mainly all of this melted. I typically use the other side of this stick because where you break these apart, there's a flat end which allows you to scrape a little better. But I did not start it that way today, which means that I'm not going to do it today because I don't want this all over my hands right now. Okay, so I'm going to take it over and start pouring. I'm actually going to add my essential oil real quick, and then I'm going to pour this into my forms. It does solidify very fast because, like I said, it is not heated hot at all. Just ever so slightly warmed. All right, so here I have my liquid lip balm. I am going to use lavender. I use essential oils. I use Young Living just because I trust them. I've had lots of experience with others in the past that were not necessarily positive. I've not had a negative reaction to this particular brand, so that is why I use it. I don't venture very much from the things that I know work for me. I'm going to put 10 drops in. Where's my stick? Give it just a little, oh look, you could see because it was cold, there is the essential oils sitting on top. Got to give that a little stir to marry those together. And then it's already starting to solidify. I'm going to start pouring. Now, as you can see, there is quite a bit in there, but it has solidified onto the jar. I am going to take my scraper. I'm going to scrape the stuff that did not get into the lip grease containers. I'm going to put it back into the jar and I'm going to melt it again. All right. Back to the water bath for another few minutes. That will melt down and I will pour again. You can see it's already starting to melt. I got 13 tubes out of that single batch. I am going to, because I've got everything out, I'm going to go ahead and do up another batch with walnut oil instead of the sesame oil. And I'm going to use the rosemary and peppermint essential oils instead of the lavender. So because I've got everything out, I'm going to just make a whole bunch of different ones. And of course, labeling them as I go. I bought just some masking tape and I'm going to write on it and then just stick it on the tube so that I know which ones are which, and nothing fancy. So I hope you guys liked the lip grease video, and stay tuned. I will show you what I finally come up with. Okay, so I am done with today's lip balms, and I have 13 of the sesame and 25 of the walnut. You can tell by the color differences that the sesame is slightly darker than the walnut. Can you see that? This one is sesame, this one is the toasted sesame, and this one is the walnut. I will label them so that I will know which one's which, although when you take the sesame and actually open it up, you can tell what it is because it smells like sesame seed. The sesame seed oil is quite fragrant compared to the walnut oil, so it's super easy to identify just by the smell. I just take this and wipe all of the oils off and then store it together. It stays right there on there, the little scraper does, and then I just put it right back in the box. This kit actually came with these labels that you can take off and peel and put onto the little tubes, but I don't use these. I just use, because then you have to write, you have to get it on there ever so perfect. You have to write super tiny, and then you have to, this label doesn't tend to stay on when you carry it around in your pocket. So I don't usually use these, which is why I still have them. I actually just use the tape. I write on it what it is, cut it, and then I just label it just like that. They're just for our use. I don't typically sell them, so all the ingredients in it are natural. 4 ingredients right here from our homestead. If you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, hope you have a wonderful day. Be out.